The whole world obviously is dealing with COVID. You guys are dealing with COVID. You're hearing and seeing a lot of things that churches are having to deal with COVID. What is your assessment of kind of the situation in Texas and amongst the churches and how people are dealing with it?
For the first couple of months, first 3 months, I guess. It's crazy that we're talking about it in terms of months now. But initially, there was kind of this camaraderie. We're in this together. There was some excitement. When I say excitement, I mean that we're doing some things we never thought we'd get our churches to do, like a virtual Sunday school or taking our worship services online or things like that. And so I'm watching that and having had kind of a fresh experience of adding some new things to my plate and knowing what that was doing to me, I was beginning to be concerned for ministers in particular, having been one and knowing what that's like, that they were going to wear themselves out. And as this has sort of drug on, I've begun to see that. And there's fatigue. I mean, there's real honest fatigue. And on top of that, I'm beginning to hear more and more of my friends, my colleagues, our fellow ministers saying, well, I tested positive.
Mm-hmm.
I tested positive. I tested positive. And so that's going to be a more common feature, I think, in the next few weeks anyway. And we don't know how long that's going to last. So, we really don't have any idea just how many people in our orbits are going to be affected by this, and then how that's going to affect our work. I think that a lot of ministers are really concerned about the different sides in their congregation. Those who want to open and don't want to have to wear masks and those kinds of things. And let's get back together. We need to get back together. The concerns about budget, making sure we're, making ends meet. And then those who they're just not going to come back, not right now. They're not comfortable. They're concerned about their health, all these kinds of things. And then you've got those who have figured out, oh, I don't have to get up and get dressed to go to church in the morning. I'm never going back. Yeah. Well, what do we do about that? So I hear a lot of ministers who are trying to work through that. And then you've got those ministers who are really gregarious, like our friend Craig Curry, who, I mean, this kind of being away from people is just, it's like draining his soul. For those of us who are introverts, this isn't so bad, but yeah.
kind of finishing up a little bit here and talking a little bit more about the Baptist Standard, kind of your vision for the Standard going forward, and kind of where you see the way news is handled and interpreted. Obviously, we live in the most polar political moment in all of history, I suppose. Maybe, I don't know. It might have a historian do a thing that says no. Actually, there was a time when it was more politically polarized, but everything is being interpreted through a particular lens. And as you see your role at Standard and kind of what's happening in the world and what's happening there, just curious your thoughts on all of that.
So I want to answer your question with reference to our mission statement and our core commitments. So the future of the Standard really is based on our mission to inform, inspire, and challenge people to live like Jesus. That's what guides what we publish and what we do. But that mission statement is really undergirded by our core commitments, which are historic Baptist principles, responsible journalism, and the redeeming and reconciling work of Jesus Christ. I published an editorial. What does responsible journalism mean for us? And in answering that question, for us as a niche journalistic outlet within the grand scheme of media, for us, responsible journalism is not just fairness and truth in reporting, so getting our facts straight and being fair to those that we publish and fair to the ideas that we publish, but it's ultimately in service of the redeeming and reconciling work of Jesus Christ. And so how that works out in Baptist life, I guess, in Texas, because that's really where we focus, is that my heart's desire is that the Baptist Standard will be part of keeping Baptists connected and talking to each other. You know, you mentioned the divide in our country. There's also a divide in our denomination. There's a divide in Christianity at large. And I want our role to be one of keeping us connected and talking to each other. Not that we would agree with each other, not that the separate groups that have formed will disband and come back together. That may not even need to happen, but I think that we can at least stay connected with each other and work together on key issues and engage with one another in a way that communicates to the world that there really is something to the redeeming and reconciling work of Jesus Christ. On other issues in terms of secular politics and race and medicine and other social issues, those kinds of things, we'll speak to those from a Christian perspective, and we try to be responsible in how we do that. But really the focus for me, and I believe for the Baptist Standard, is in keeping Baptists connected and talking to each other. And you mentioned earlier that we have a new app. We also have a new podcast called On the Way. And the focus of that podcast is the redeeming and reconciling work of Jesus Christ. It comes out of that core commitment. So we interview people, and the two questions are, and really there's just two questions, everything comes out of that. How did you become a follower of Jesus? Not just when, but how did you become a follower of Jesus? And what difference does following Jesus make in your life? And so now not everybody that we interview for that is Baptist, and they're not all in Texas, but that podcast comes out of that core commitment of the redeeming and reconciling work of Jesus Christ. And the other things that we do, they're all informed by those core commitments, historic Baptist beliefs. We're going to be Baptist. It's in our name. Responsible journalism, because that's needed right now in journalism and in a lot of other places too.
Okay.
And because we are a Christian journalistic outlet, the redeeming and reconciling work of Jesus Christ is central. So that's who we are, and that's who we're going to be going forward. So to receive the Standard, there's lots of ways that you can connect to us. One is to go to our website, baptiststandard.com. Another is to sign up for our newsletter, which is emailed every Thursday. And that's at baptiststandard.com/email. We also have a print magazine, Common Call, which comes out quarterly. And that's a paid subscription, $24 a year. And there again, you can go to baptiststandard.com, and there's a link for subscribe, and it'll take you to the Common Call page. Also, because we're a nonprofit organization, we're always looking for donors. And so there's also a donate link at our website, baptiststandard.com. So those are some ways that you can connect with us. Also, our podcast is available just about anywhere that you would listen to podcasts. So Apple, Google, Alexa, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, all those places. So there's lots of ways that you can find us. Also, like you said, the app. So in the Apple and the Android store under Baptist Standard.